Hi, we're going to close out 2025 with the review of my top 10 books that I read this year. Um, I do physical books and ebooks and audiobooks. Um, so I'm combining all of them. This is not separated by, book format. They're all lumped in together. So let's start with my top 10, shall we? This is in no particular order because all these books were fantastic. These are the books that I gave a 5.0 rating on my StoryGraph. So we're going to start with All the Sinners Bleed. Very good book. Very good book. They're actually filming right now in Atlanta for, I don't know if it's going to be a movie or a TV show, but I'm so excited and I can't wait to see it. Number 2, Matriarch by Tina Knowles. And I should have said that All the Sinners Bleed was by S.A. Cosby. And then, of course, we have Tina Knowles, Matriarch. Excellent book. I feel like I understand the Knowles family a little bit more. Definitely Tina Knowles and her story. Learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know about her. And just a lot of stuff about being a woman, an independent woman at that. So definitely recommend. And I actually read the audiobook of that and I loved hearing it in Miss Tina's voice. So if you can get the audiobook, do that because I think having it in Tina's voice is more authentic. Number 3, Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Good book. Very spooky, kind of like a Twilight Zone-ish kind of book. But I like Riley Sager. They do thrillers very well. Next up, A Coworker's Crush. This is actually by Piper Rain. They're a writing duo. Very good book. Very steamy. It's kind of like a enemies to lovers trope, which has become a thing. For me, anyway, in my reading. I never was into that kind of thing, but I'm obsessed with it now. Number, what are we on? 5, Dr. Sleep. Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. I have seen this movie, and it's a sequel to The Shining. And then when I watched Welcome to Derry, and they kept touching on the topic of The Shining with Dick Halloran, I said, let me go back and maybe read Dr. Sleep. Because I knew Dr. Sleep got more into The Shining abilities. And so, fantastic book. Fantastic book. Way better than the movie. In fact, I would not even bother watching that movie. If you don't read the book, the movie is worthless. It wasn't. Because I went back and watched the movie again after I read the book. And I was like, my God. Can't compare to Stephen King's writing. Next up, and y'all are going to kick me because I should have read these books a long time ago, but I never did. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. Favorite movie, favorite book. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is next. Another favorite. So that's my second favorite movie and the second favorite book of the series. I had some other of the Harry Potter books that made my 5-star list, but I don't want them to take up all of my spots because there are some other good books that I gave like a 4.5 to 4.75 that I'd rather put here. So next up on my list, and we're at number 8, Don't Let Him In, and that is by Lisa Jewell. Lisa Jewell, Don't Let Him In. That book drove me crazy, and I'm going to get to why later. Number 9, and this is not in order, y'all. So I'm not saying it was my 9th favorite out of 10. No order. The Let Them Theory, and I'm going to get the full title. The Let Them Theory, a life-changing tool that millions of people can't stop talking about. I think that's the full title. At least that's what it says on StoryGraph. I actually purchased that book, the ebook, That book helped me so much throughout 2025. If you know me, you know where I work, you know my profession. I mean, it's on my shirt, public health. Let them, and a lot of people make fun of Mel Robbins because they're like, oh, let them, that's so simplified. A lot of times it is simple as that. Let people do them and you worry about yourself. Self-care got me through 2025, whether that was professionally or personally. Okay? And then last up, Sunrise on the Reaping, and that is by Suzanne Collins. And if you're a fan of the Hunger Games, you know this is a prequel that's in between the Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, which was about President Snow and how he rose to power, and in between the first Hunger Games book, which covered Katniss and her story. So this book was about Haymitch. I did not want to read this book because I did not like Haymitch as a character in the Hunger Games at all. He was terrible. And I could this book explain why he's terrible. He didn't start out as a terrible person. He started out as a very good, altruistic person who was in a bad situation. Of course, the Hunger Games will put anybody in a bad situation. And it gave me more insight as to his behavior in the later Hunger Games books. They are filming a movie for that as well. Right now, I don't know if it's being filmed in Atlanta or not, but I'm definitely going to see it when it comes out. All right, I got some honorable mentions. This book, I heard about it all year, and then I just read it in December. I finished it in literally 3 days. And I don't normally read that fast. It normally takes me a week or two to read some books because I just have other stuff going on. I'm not a speed reader, y'all. Honorable mention, The Scammer. That book drove me crazy and was part of the reason why I couldn't put it down, okay? The Scammer. And apparently, I think I heard that they might be turning that into a movie as well. I don't know. And then Revenge of the Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. This book was so interesting because he literally went back and kind of re-examined his ideas from the first book, The Tipping Point. And I love a self-reflective moment. It was just really well done. I think it was a great book. And in fact, The Tipping Point, it mentioned, overstories, super spreaders, and the rise of social engineering. So once again, based on the year that I had, I felt like, let me read this book. And it was very good. All right, I got some other categories here. We can go with most steamy, Lights Out. Hey, who wrote that book? Let me see who wrote Lights Out. Lights Out by Navessa Allen. That book is crazy, psycho, thriller, erotic. Absolutely. Most romantic, I will have to say You'll Be Mine by Piper Rain again. That book, I listened to it in the car ride home over the holidays, and it was only 4.5 hours long or something like that. Perfect read for a car ride. Perfect listen for a car ride. Really sweet, kind of for enemies to lovers trope that I thought was done really well. Most triggering, Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell. That book had me wound up so tight. That book had me so pissed off. Probably because, as a straight woman, I've experienced low down, effed up men who treat women like trash. And the whole book, I'm like, I want him to get his comeuppance. And at the end, if you believe the end, because I don't even know if I believe what actually happened at the end. Um, I still feel like he kind of got off easy, but honestly, it was the cowardly thing, and he was a coward. So that made sense. But that book triggered me. That book has me, every now and again, I'll just sit and be thinking about that book and what that man was doing to those women. Most thrilling, I will have to say it's a tie between Dr. Sleep, but I might have to give it to All Sinners Bleed because I've seen Dr. Sleep before, so I knew what to expect. All the Sinners Bleed, had no idea what to expect. Did not see that ending coming. I was on the edge of my seat while I did the audiobook for this one as well, and I recommend it because the narrator, the voice actors, phenomenal voice actor. And I'll go down the rabbit. Anyway, I will go down a rabbit hole and see what else has this voice actor narrated. And so that's how I found some of my books actually, because I went down that rabbit hole. And next up, most hated. I said The Tenant by Frida McFadden. And I kind of think I want to change my answer because that book was terrible. But there's two books by another author, Denise Williams. She wrote a book, Just Our Luck and How to Fail at Flirting. I waited so long to get those books because they were on hold through Libby. And when I finally listened to them, the characters were insufferable. So I don't like when women beat themselves up in the book and they downplay, their beauty or their intelligence, or they lash out at the man in a way that pushes him away because they're so insecure. I don't like that. I don't want to read that. So those books drove me insane. I'm I almost did not finish both of those books, but I'm I waited all this time to get this book. Let me hurry up and get to the end and see what happens. But The Tenant is up there. The Crash by Frida McFadden. The Tenant and The Crash, did not like those books. The ending of The Crash was so insane. That was a very unsatisfying ending. So was The Tenant. Unsatisfying ending. But Frida is my most read author for the year. So what's that say about me? Am I hate reading her books at this point? And my favorite book of the year, drum roll, All Sinners Bleed. Phenomenal book. I would read that book again, honestly, because I feel like there were some things in it that I missed. Clues that I missed, that I wasn't connecting the dots on. I'm maybe I'd go back and read it, and I would buy that book and read it again, because I get a lot of my books through Libby and Hoopla, but sometimes I do buy the book. But I recommended that book to folks because I don't know too many people who read thrillers in my sphere of people who are readers. A lot of them read self-help books or maybe some fantasy like Harry Potter or Hunger Games. But this one was a thriller, and it had a element of race to it, which I really liked. And it was I think it was an honest element of racial dynamics in this small town, and I think they were in North Carolina. So I will be patiently waiting for what they come up with for S.A. Cosby's All the Sinners Bleed, whether it's a movie or a series. So, but that is my top 10 with some additional superlatives for my books. Right now, I'm still trying to finish Kamala Harris, 107 Days. I purchased that book, actually. I thought it was right here next to me, but it must be on my bookshelf. I purchased that book, so I'm making my way through it. But so far, the first 3 chapters, I'm like, yeah, I'm digging this. So thanks for tuning in, and happy reading in 2026.